Ladies and gentlemen, señoras y señores, my name is David Morgado, and I'm an energy analyst at the International Energy Agency. It's a real pleasure to be able to present the regional energy efficiency policy recommendations for Latin America and the Caribbean at this event today. Under the IEA's Energy Efficiency in Emerging Economies program, we developed regional energy efficiency policy recommendations for Latin America and the Caribbean with the support of more than 50 energy efficiency experts in the region and in collaboration with the UNECLAC and the Ministry of Energy and Mines of Peru. In my presentation today, I'll go through the 20 regional recommendations which span across 5 sectors and cover policies ranging from measures to implement mandatory minimum energy performance standards for buildings and appliances, as well as to improve transport system planning and efficiency, and promote energy management systems for industry. In 2008, the IEA launched the 25 energy efficiency policy recommendations, which were particularly directed at G8 countries. The objective was to have a package of measures to significantly enhance the implementation of energy efficiency in those countries. The publication was then updated again in 2011, but most countries felt there was a need to adapt the recommendations to regional and cultural contexts. Therefore, in 2014 and 2015, the IEA adapted them to 3 regions: Arab, Southern and Eastern Mediterranean region, Southeast Asia region, and finally Latin America and the Caribbean region. I'm glad to say that these 3 regional publications are now available for free on the IEA website. The publication of Latin America and the Caribbean is available both in English and Spanish, and there are also hard copies of the English and Spanish version available at the event today. The objective of the publication for Latin America and the Caribbean was to support government stakeholders in prioritizing and implementing energy efficiency policies for their countries, but also as an effective way to increase awareness and obtain high-level political support for scaled-up energy efficiency efforts in the region. The energy efficiency policy recommendations for the region were first developed during a one-day workshop at the 5th Energy Efficiency Policy Dialogue in Peru, and were reviewed during the Regional Sustainable Energy Training Week for Latin America in Chile. A draft was sent out for review in March 2015, and the report was then finalized in July 2015. It included contributions from more than 50 energy efficiency experts in the region, as was mentioned, many of which are present at the event today. As you can see, these experts were from a wide range of regional organizations, 8 in total, and also 22 countries and territories. As shown in this slide, our partner in this publication, UNECLAC, kindly highlighted the publication's importance to the region, and the importance of the publication is supporting the discussions undertaken during energy efficiency policy dialogues events such as the one today. So moving on to the 20 recommendations, as mentioned, they span across 5 sectors. Cross-sectoral, first, políticas transversales, buildings, edificaciones, lighting, appliances and equipment, alumbrado, aparatos y equipos, transport, transporte, industry, industria. In terms of the cross-sectoral energy efficiency policy recommendations, they start with designating lead institutions for planning and coordinating and implementing and monitoring energy efficiency policies and programs. These are institutions that take a lead on energy efficiency policies and coordinate with other government agencies to really drive energy efficiency measures in the country. There are several countries in the region that have these agencies already, but due to limited capacity and resources, some still require further funding support and legislation to strengthen their ability to effectively implement and monitor national energy efficiency programs. The next point is to establish regular energy efficiency data collection and indicators. Data collection during the design, implementation, and evaluation phases is an essential part of any energy efficiency program. There's need for more and better quality data on energy efficiency and to develop indicators that can effectively support decision-making on energy efficiency measures. We recognize the effort being made by UNECLAC, ADEM, and partner countries in this area in the region. Remove inefficient energy subsidies. Low energy prices as a result of fossil fuel electricity subsidies result in higher energy consumption and reduce the demand for energy efficiency investment. And as energy consumption rises, these subsidies can become a major financial burden to governments. The next point is to stimulate investment in energy efficiency. There's a high dependence on national government funding for energy efficiency in the region, and therefore it's important to stimulate both private and public sector investment to complement this funding. Measures can include stimulating public-private partnerships, stimulating local financing schemes by local banks, and stimulating ESCO market development, amongst others. Finally, develop information and awareness campaigns and educational programs. Regular communication and outreach campaigns, as well as the inclusion of educational programs on energy efficiency in schools and training of technical experts, can ensure energy efficiency is an integral part of the decision-making process. Moving on to the building sector, in 2012, buildings accounted for approximately 16% of total final energy consumption in Latin America and the Caribbean. This is likely to increase with the expansion of urban areas and with further economic growth and improvement in standards of living. A strong driver for this growth is the inevitable rising demand for and use of appliances and equipment, such as air conditioning. Therefore, the building's energy efficiency policy recommendations include improve the energy performance of building components and systems. First, to address the building components by implementing minimum energy performance standards for building components and systems such as windows, insulation, ventilation, hot water, heating, and cooling systems. Governments should also facilitate improvements in high-efficiency building components and systems through the publication of best practice guidelines and enhance research, development, and demonstration programs. The next point is improve building energy performance. Governments should support the development, adoption, and enforcement of building energy codes and minimum energy performance standards which provide a minimum quality level for buildings in the country. For existing buildings, a combination of policies that improve the minimum codes and also the efficiency of buildings through renovation, operation, and maintenance best practices is recommended. For new buildings, a combination of policies that enhance the minimum codes and also the efficiency of buildings during the design, construction, and operation phases is recommended. The next point is implement energy labels, certificates, or disclosure of energy consumption. After addressing minimum energy performance and high energy performance in buildings and their components and systems, governments should require public display of information that will improve decision-making, including labels, certificates, and even public disclosure of energy consumption for selected buildings. Finally, aim for net zero energy consumption in buildings. Supporting research, development, and implementation of low energy use or net zero ready buildings can be beneficial for advancing future building codes and standards. Moving on to lighting appliances and equipment. According to UNEP, in a 2014 study, the introduction of standards and a transition to best available energy efficient refrigerators, air conditioners, and electric fans in households in the region could result in annual energy savings of 138 terawatt hours, equivalent to $20 billion US. Therefore, the lighting appliances and equipment energy efficiency policy recommendations include implementing mandatory minimum energy performance standards, known as MEPS, and energy labels for lighting appliances and equipment. This can be done by regular update and continuous improvement of standards and label categories, the inclusion of energy performance criteria in public procurement for local and national governments, and well-resourced and targeted monitoring and enforcement regimes. The next one is to phase out least efficient products through taxation, subsidies, and regulations to trigger uptake of high-efficient products by combining it with MEPS, market transformation, and other phase-out policies, for example. Next is to engage in regional collaboration and harmonization of standards and testing procedures to reduce compliance and testing costs and increase demand for energy-efficient products in the region. Finally, promote market transformation policies. As the adoption of regulatory framework for standards and labels can take time to be effectively implemented, market transformation policies and programs can be complementary and enable behavioral changes leading to significant energy savings in a short period of time. Therefore, governments should explore the introduction of financial incentives, procurement programs, and other measures focusing on cost-effective, high-efficiency appliances and equipment. Moving on to the transport sector. The transport sector represented approximately 36% of the total final energy consumption in Latin America and the Caribbean in 2012. Increasing demand for mobility in the region is causing a number of challenges for transport system planning and infrastructure, especially in Latin American cities. Therefore, the transport energy efficiency policy recommendations are very much based on the avoid, shift, and improve model. This model helps transport decision makers to holistically design low-emission transport strategies by assessing opportunities to avoid the need for travel, shift to less carbon-intensive modes, and improve on conventional technologies, infrastructure, and policies. Based on this model, the following best practices to enhance energy efficiency in the transport sector could be applicable to the region. Improve transport system planning and efficiency by diversification of transport systems and fuel sources, coordination between national, regional, and local authorities, and complementary financial measures. The next point is to implement mandatory vehicle efficiency standards and labeling by regular update of standards, complementary incentives and taxation policies to influence decision making and accelerate market uptake of efficient and low emission vehicles, and also harmonization of vehicle and fuel efficiency standards in the region. The next point is to promote fuel efficient non-engine components through standards and test procedures. The efficiency of vehicle components such as tires, air conditioning, and aerodynamic devices can play an important role in enhancing overall vehicle fuel efficiency, especially for heavy-duty vehicles. Finally, enhance vehicle operational efficiency through training and information awareness, regular mandatory maintenance and inspections, in-vehicle eco-driving feedback systems in new cars. Finally, for the industrial sector, in Latin America, the industrial sector, and also in some countries in the Caribbean, represented 32% of total final energy consumption in the region in 2012. There's substantial potential for energy efficiency in the industrial sector, which can be addressed through the industrial energy efficiency policy recommendations that we highlight here. The first one being promote energy management and energy efficiency of projects through the monitoring and reporting of the implementation of energy management systems, benchmarking of key indicators among industries, and preventative maintenance and loss reduction. The next point is to promote high efficiency industrial equipment and systems through the adoption of minimum energy performance standards for industrial equipment, promotion of best available technologies, and training and capacity building to ensure optimal operation and application of best practices. Finally, stimulate the development of energy efficiency products and services for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. Governments should consider the introduction of specifically designed policies and programs for the promotion and implementation of energy efficiency measures in SMEs. These may include support mechanisms for promoting and conducting energy audits, provision of information and guidelines applicable to each subsector, regular capacity building activities including sharing of best practices and experiences, and finally supporting the development of financial instruments to reduce investment risk for local banks. Of all these 20 important recommendations, we then asked the energy efficiency experts in the region to indicate which ones should be priority for their governments. These three cross-sectoral recommendations came first. Under the second level of priority, these are the recommendations highlighted, mainly from cross-sectoral, lighting appliances and equipment, and industry. We also had a third and fourth level of priorities that were equally important and are included in the publication. Unfortunately, I was not able to be present at the 6th Energy Efficiency Policy Dialogue in Aruba and discuss these recommendations in detail, but I would be glad to answer any questions or comments you might have by email. Thank you again for your attention, and I hope you can help disseminate these recommendations by sharing them with your colleagues, friends, and policymakers. Thank you. Gracias. Obrigado.